Before I take you deep into this chilling story of betrayal and revenge, hit that subscribe button, tap like if you've ever trusted the wrong person, and tell me in the comments, what would you do if your best friend stole the person you loved the most? Because what you're about to hear is not fiction. It's someone's real nightmare. And it's just the beginning. Julia thought her life was safe, married at 28 to a man she believed was her forever, and best friends since childhood with Emily, her ride or die, her soul sister. They lived in the same neighborhood, had brunch every Sunday, and laughed about how their future kids would grow up together. Julia often told people, "I don't have a sister, but Emily fills that space in my life." Michael, her husband, was steady, reliable, a bit boring, even. But she liked that. He was the kind of man who would never lie, never cheat. Or so she thought. At night, they'd watch Netflix curled up on the couch. And Julia always welcomed it. Emily would sometimes drop by and announce with wine and gossip she was happy. Or at least, she thought she was. It started with little things. Michael started getting home later, work's a mess, he'd say, loosening his tie, eyes glued to his phone. Julia believed him. Why wouldn't she? Emily seemed off too. She'd text less, cancel brunch, seemed distracted, big clients. Long hours, stress. Julia chalked it up to Emily's new job at the marketing agency. But something about the way Emily avoided eye contact when they met, that twitch in her smile, began to feel wrong. Still, Julia pushed those thoughts aside. Love meant trust and friendship, real friendship, couldn't break that easily. Right, one rainy Tuesday, Michael forgot to take his phone to work. It buzzed once, then again, and again. Julia glanced at it instinctively. The preview showed, "I can't stop thinking about it, Emily. Last night was crazy." Her stomach twisted. Maybe it was about a party. Maybe it was nothing. But her hands moved before her mind could catch up. She opened the phone, opened the thread, and in that moment, her heart fractured. There, in a series of midnight texts, was the truth. Emily, her best friend, Michael, her husband, together, laughing, plotting, touching, betraying. Julia sat motionless on the kitchen floor for nearly an hour. The sound of the refrigerator, the distant hum of the street outside, the rain, it all blended into a dull, unbearable silence. She didn't cry. Not yet. She simply broke, silently. When Michael came home that evening, Julia was in bed, pretending to sleep. He kissed her forehead and whispered, "Rough day." She didn't move, didn't answer. Her body lay still, but her mind was already planning something she never thought herself capable of. For the next 2 weeks, Julia played the role of a wife perfectly. She smiled. She cooked his favorite pasta. She told Emily they should have a girls-only spa weekend soon. She even posted a happy couple photo on Instagram. Grateful for my people, but in her head, a fire had already started, quiet but determined. This wouldn't end in a scream. It would end in silence, cold, calculated, brutal. Because now Julia knew the people who could destroy you were always the ones closest to you. And as Julia poured wine for both of them that evening, with a soft smile and trembling hands, she knew. The storm hadn't started yet, but when it did, it would swallow them whole. When someone stabs you in the heart, you don't bleed right away. First, you freeze, then you burn, and then you build. Julia became an actress. Every smile was a mask. Every dinner, every "I love you," every coffee date with Emily, all of it was scripted. She watched them both closely. Michael's lies were clumsy. Emily's guilt showed in her eyes, but she still laughed like nothing happened. Julia played along, but inside, she was gathering information, saving receipts, copying text messages, taking screenshots. She created a secret folder named Proof on a drive Michael would never find. This wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. It was about justice. Julia invited Emily to a spa weekend at a mountain resort. Just the two of them, just like old times. Emily hesitated for a second, then agreed. "We really do need this, Jules," she said, with that familiar fake smile. At the resort, Julia acted like nothing was wrong. Took selfies, they drank wine, got facials. But when Emily was in the shower, Julia took her phone. She didn't unlock it, she didn't need to. She simply airdropped every photo and video Emily had taken in the past month onto her own phone. She knew exactly what she was looking for, and she found it. In one grainy clip, taken late at night, Emily is filming herself giggling. She's in a hotel room. Then Michael's voice is heard off camera. "You're so bad, Julia has no idea." Emily flips the camera to him. He smirks, shirtless, and kisses her neck. Julia watches the whole thing in silence, heart pounding. She saves the video, then deletes it from Emily's phone. Emily never finds out. That night, Julia lays in bed beside her, pretending to sleep, while replaying the betrayal in her mind. She no longer feels sad. She feels powerful. Back home, Julia starts creating a plan. She begins volunteering to help plan Emily's upcoming birthday, which Emily secretly intends to turn into an engagement reveal with Michael. Julia offers to manage the slideshow. She suggests a small video presentation. For fun memories, she built a digital trap, a highlight reel of Emily and Julia's memories, ending with the video of Emily and Michael in the hotel. She hides the clip deep in the middle of the slideshow. It's only a few seconds long, but enough to scorch everything. She encrypts the file and schedules it to autoplay. Over the next few weeks, Julia becomes colder, but more convincing. Michael comments, "You've been glowing lately." Julia smiles and says, "Just finally taking care of myself." Emily texts her daily. Julia replies with hearts. But everything is a lie. Every message, every laugh, every look, Julia knows it's fake. But pretending no longer hurts. She feels like a ghost with a mission. She has one purpose now, to make them pay. The day before the party, Julia spends the evening writing in her journal. One sentence she writes over and over: "You lied to me. You betrayed me. You don't get to win." She folds the page and puts it in an envelope. She writes two names on it, Michael, Emily. She places it inside a gift box. The next evening, she lines hand them the box with a smile right before the lights dim and the projector begins. She stands in front of the mirror, wearing the dress Emily once gave her for a special day. Tonight will be special. All right, not for her, but for them. Some people scream when they're angry. Julia smiled, because when she smiled, something always broke. The evening of Emily's birthday party was perfect. Candles flickered across white tablecloths, glasses sparkled with champagne. Emily was glowing, floating through the crowd in a pale gold dress. And Julia was calm, dangerously calm. She arrived early to help. She tested the projector, checked the audio, made sure her special surprise slideshow file was queued correctly. At the gift table, Julia placed her box gently on top. Emily never suspected a thing. Inside was the envelope labeled with their names, Michael and Emily, but that wasn't the real gift. The real gift was set to play at exactly 8:45 p.m., right after Emily's toast. Right before the guests would raise their glasses, Julia made sure everyone would be watching the screen. At 8:42 p.m., Emily raised her glass. "To love," she said, smiling toward Michael, "to friendship." And to the future. Julia stood nearby, her own glass barely touched. She stared at Emily, the girl who once cried on her shoulder, the girl who swore they'd grow old as neighbors. Now, that same girl was about to feel what betrayal tasted like. The lights dimmed, the screen flickered. The first few slides were sweet, photos of Emily and Julia as teenagers. College dorm selfies, wine nights, vacation clips. The crowd smiled, some laughed, some said, "Ah, how cute." Then, a flash. A short clip, blurry, but unmistakable. Emily, in a hotel room. Lips on Michael's neck, his voice, "You're so bad." Julia has no idea, gasps. Someone dropped a glass. Emily froze. Michael turned white. Julia stood still, her arms crossed. The slideshow jumped back to a photo of the three of them together, smiling. Perfect. Emily rushed to the laptop. Who did this? Julia stepped forward, calm as ice. I did. Michael whispered. Julia, listen, but she didn't let him finish. She reached into her purse and pulled out the envelope. Here, she said, handing it to Emily. You might want to read it when everyone's gone. It's the timeline of your betrayal. With dates, places, proof, the room was silent except for whispers. Michael's mother looked horrified. Emily's father shook his head in disgust. Friends began walking out. Julia didn't wait. She walked out before the fireworks really started. No screaming, no crying, just the click of her heels on the pavement. She didn't need to look back. She knew she had ended something permanent. Michael and Emily would never recover, not socially, not personally, and definitely not together. That night, around 11:43 p.m., Michael called her. She didn't answer. The next day, Emily messaged her, "You ruined everything. Why couldn't you just talk to me?" Julia replied, "You ruined everything. I just showed everyone the truth." Then blocked her, forever. Julia didn't cry that night. She poured herself a glass of red wine, sat by the window, and smiled. She didn't lose anything that day. She cleared space for better things. When the storm finally hits, the aftermath can be quieter than the chaos, but it changes everything forever. Michael's phone didn't stop ringing. Friends, family, co-workers, all calling. The news had spread faster than anyone expected. At work, whispers followed him down the hall. He was called the guy behind his back. Emily's social media was flooded with messages, some hateful, some shocked. Her followers dropped by thousands. Michael's mother refused to answer his calls. Emily's closest friends stopped returning texts. The engagement was off. Plans crumbled. They were left with only each other, but even that bond was broken. Meanwhile, Julia found a strange peace. She took time off work, started therapy, reconnected with old friends who had no idea what she had been going through. For the first time in months, she smiled without pretending. Julia learned that healing wasn't about revenge. It was about herself. She picked up painting, something she'd loved as a child. Started journaling her thoughts and dreams. Every brush stroke, every written word was a step away from the pain. One evening, Julia received a message from a stranger. "I saw what you did. That was brave. You're not alone." It was from another woman, someone who'd been betrayed and was inspired by Julia's strength. Julia smiled. The past still haunted her. But she wasn't a victim anymore. She was a survivor. A woman who took control of her story and wrote her own ending. Life isn't about the people who hurt you. It's about what you do after. Julia's story was just beginning. The storm had passed. But from the ashes, a new Julia was rising. Stronger, wiser, free. After every storm comes a new dawn. For Julia, this was her chance to rewrite her story, not as a victim, but as a warrior. Julia woke up to the soft morning light filtering through her window. No longer haunted by betrayal, she felt a sense of calm she hadn't known in months. She brewed her coffee slowly, savoring the peace. Her phone no longer buzzed with toxic messages. For the first time in years, she was truly free. Julia returned to painting with renewed vigor. Canvases filled her small apartment, vibrant colors replacing the dark shadows of the past. She even started an online art gallery, sharing her work and connecting with others who found solace in creativity. Slowly, Julia reconnected with family and friends. They saw the change in her, stronger, wiser, more confident. She forgave not to forget, but to heal. Julia decided to speak publicly about her journey. She started a blog, sharing her story of betrayal and healing. Her words resonated with thousands. Though wary, Julia allowed herself to imagine a future with someone new, someone who would respect and cherish her. But first, she was focused on loving herself. Julia's final message to those watching was clear. Don't let betrayal define you, let it empower you. You are stronger than the pain. You deserve happiness. Julia stood on a rooftop at sunset, watching the horizon glow with promise. The past was behind her. The future was hers. This was no longer a story of revenge. It was a story of rebirth, the new dawn.